We are live. Greetings, friends, family, countrymen. Welcome to the very first Beyond Fluency podcast live show. Good evening. My name's Liam. This is...
And I am Ramped. And yeah, feels good
How you
to
feeling,
be doing a
Ramps?
live show.
Yeah?
I feel good. Feel good to be doing a live
Good.
show.
Yeah?
A little bit nervous as well. But...
yeah, you look a bit nervous, buddy.
yeah, a little bit, but it's all right. It's I'll ease into it as we get along.
No, man, come on. Right.
Yeah.
Here's how we're going to start, with energy, with enthusiasm, my friend. We are getting to share our highlights from season 1, some best bits, and a bit of discussion around the biggest takeaways that we had, and some of the practical tips that we've shared this season. I'm really excited for this one. I think this is going to be fun. You get to see us live and unedited. All of the bits where we ramble too long, or we don't know what we're saying, can't remember words. You get to experience all of that with us, so you can see that we're human too, and the final version of what we do is much shorter than the actual recording. So this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Ramps.
Yeah. Like that, as Liam, you've really said it all already. Nothing more to add to it except that it'll be us and perhaps how we usually have this conversation. So you get to see how we usually have this conversation, because what we put out obviously is just a section of a much longer conversation. So yeah, I'm excited to share it with everyone.
Nice. All right, so what we've done is we've divided up the season between the two of us. Ramps has taken the odd numbers and I have taken the even, and we have taken a couple of clips of the bits that we thought would be worth revisiting. So we don't have a clip for the first episode, which is about language learners. But Rams, is there anything you would like to add to the conversation about learner styles, the super tips that we gave? Is there anything in reflection that you think we missed?
No, nothing. This one, nothing. I don't think there's anything we missed, but I did have something to report back onto it based on what we said on that, which was listening, so watching with subtitles simultaneously. It was on that episode, on episode 1, that we spoke about it, and we spoke about the disadvantages of it. And prior to that, I hadn't actually thought of that or even shared that with my clients. And it's after that episode, I started sharing it, and it actually encouraged them to also separate the two things. So if you want to read, just read. If you want to listen to something, just listen to something. Why are you trying to do the two at the same time? So because of that conversation, it made it a lot easier, especially, again, connecting it to the path of least resistance, where they didn't like one of the two.
Right.
So yeah, I was just to sort of share how it's helped.
So I mean,
clients. Yeah,
we've been making these videos for a few months now, and through our conversations, I think there have been a lot of things that have actually had real practical applications. Listening to you speak, how you work with clients, I've picked up things from you that I think are interesting and useful, and you've picked up a few things from me, and we've had a few months to experiment with them. And at this point, I still talk about reading and listening every time. I don't go into as much detail now because I just send them the video and say, watch this video from this point, for a bit of a deeper explanation about what I'm talking about. But I that first video, I feel like rewatching it, I spent a long time talking about visual and kinesthetic, but we didn't really spend much time speaking about auditory listeners. Since going through this process as an auditory learner, Rams, is there anything that you have discovered or shared with your clients that you can share with the audience today?
I can't say something in particular comes to mind at the moment. But again, because from the video, really leaned into the learner styles with my clients, and it helped them as well get started, which is something that I think I spoke about, and we spoke about really a lot throughout the entire kind of first season to get them started, you know.
Right.
But no, I think we really covered everything on that one. In the first episode, nothing really comes to mind. It was everything I had written down. It was more about reporting and sharing the information of how it affected the clients. Because as we said, you know, it's not just us speaking about language and trying to simplify language, but it's also us sometimes learning from each other and just me. And a lot that during the first season, a lot of that happened. So I took some things and I tried them out as well. And so, yeah, that was the first episode for me. Yeah.
Very nice.
But what about you? Because you had the second episode, right?
I did. The Path of Least Resistance. Yeah.
I watched all of your clips as well.
Okay, right? Did you? You've obviously got a lot more time than I have.
yeah. Like, I mean, I rewatched everything we made from the first episode to the 9th,
right,
from beginning to end.
It's good for the watch time anyway.
Well, I watched the raw files offline.
oh, okay. I thought you were going to be bumping up our numbers on YouTube for a second.
No, I did it. I should have.
I watched them on YouTube. I bumped up. I watched all of my ones on YouTube from start to finish on a different account.
Well, I was I was cutting as well, right? I was cutting the clips. Exactly, so we can play them back.
I know. I'm just teasing.
Yeah. What? You made me feel guilty. Come on. It's like, I could have watched it.
I am not responsible for your guilt. That is an internal thing going on. Yeah. But yes, sorry. As you were saying, you watched my ones as well. What were you going to say about Path of Least Resistance?
No. I'm just excited to watch the clip and then to comment on it.
All right. So Path of Least Resistance, for those of you out there, which is 0 at the moment, who haven't seen the video and know what we're talking about, the Path of Least Resistance is essentially how to make something so easy to do that it's almost impossible not to do it. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you're finding a way to create a new habit or to perform an action in its simplest possible way. So first clip I have for you is based on simplifying things and what that can mean for you.
All righty.
Here we go.
You gonna play it?
Yeah. Oh, why is it?
Simplifying is key. I speak to so many people who tell me, "Oh, English is easy grammatically." I'm like, yeah, it is. You can have a good grammatical structure in English by getting to intermediate level, but getting from intermediate to advanced or proficient is much more difficult because there are so many more nuances in the language that you're using. Grammatically doesn't change a lot. You're more adding fine tuning to the grammar that you already have. Fine tuning is what we use when we talk about machinery.
Yeah.
right? If you think about a sports car, the fine tuning is rotating one of the screws in the engine 2 or 3 millimeters in order to maximize the performance of that engine.
Yeah, I have a certain result. Yeah.
Exactly. And that is how I see grammar in terms of English. The difficulty is the thousands of variations of phrasal verbs, the colloquial language, the idioms, the collocations. Collocations is something people just don't spend enough time on, in my opinion. It's knowing what the verb, noun, and adjective combinations are to say the right phrase instead of just translating, right?
Yeah, what would be an example of a collocation?
Okay, I want to invite you to go for a coffee. Would I say, let's make a coffee, do a coffee, or get a coffee?
Let me say, let's get a coffee.
Let's get a coffee, yeah. We wouldn't make a coffee. We're only making a coffee if we're physically performing the action. If it's an invitation, it's get, right?
Yeah.
So
That's an example.
Understanding the difference between those is a very important part of language.
All right. So classic live situation. I played the wrong clip. The other clip was talking about simplifying. That was talking about the important aspects of learning English as a B2 plus. But
yeah,
that's what happens. I still think, it's a good clip. I think it's something that we spend a lot of time, certainly something I spend a lot of time doing, is speaking to people about this very element of what we cover and how to continue to improve beyond B2.
That one it's another one that I started using once we spoke about it. And maybe let me say I started adding it from a language point of view, when sometimes people get confused with collocations, particularly with make and do, right? So I started using that. Once you mentioned it, I was like, okay, I should probably start paying a little bit more attention to it myself. And I have this thing that I picked up a couple of years ago called the 5 magic verbs, right? So it's have, do, take, etc. And you get every verb has uses of that verb. It has use. Every verb has a use, right? So have is generally for you attach the verb to type of activities, from leisure to and so on, and it kind of helps to learn the collocations and stop getting confused with the make, do, have. So for example, it's okay, so remember, do is for mundane things, make is something that is a little bit more creative. So anything that you think is creative, go that way. Have and take is generally leisure. So if you're thinking leisure, we should probably be thinking have and take. It's not a perfect system, but at least it cuts it down a little bit. Limited. Yeah. So, and that because of after we spoke about the collocation. When you mentioned it in the video.
So I like
another
that
one.
And to go back to make and the fact that you're putting it in the creative bracket, it's also functional process, right? Would you say making a coffee is would you say that's creative or functional? Process based?
Function. Yeah,
could be both. I mean, have you
It
seen
can be both.
the amount of coffee talk there is?
Yeah, I was gonna say coffee making can be quite creative,
It's an art form in some places.
Same as tea. I mean, would you do say, well, I'll make you a cup of tea? right?
Mhm.
And that as well, people have enjoy tea in different ways. You go to different parts of the world, and it's a whole. You can even have maybe perhaps even a tradition, a manner in which tea is served. You know, so
Yeah,
no,
I
definitely
did a tea
creative.
course actually in Gong Fu tea. So you learn all
Oh,
about the different types of leaves and how to prepare them. You know what, because each different type of tea has a different temperature that you are meant to infuse
yeah, to
at.
have it.
And then it's a whole subject if you get into it. The traditional gong fu, if you go to a tea room and you get it done traditionally, it's a whole what's the word I'm looking for? See, this happens a lot,
Experience.
but you say experience. Yes, definitely. Ritual is the word I was looking for. It's a very ritualistic thing. It's done very mindfully. Have you seen? I don't know if you've seen. There's a show called Shogun. It was on Disney Plus, which is it's a show based on feudal times in Japan. And
Mhm.
there is a scene in it between a husband and wife. It's all Japanese, old Japanese culture is very rigid and distinct. And there is a moment where a husband performs a ceremony for his wife, and it's filmed beautifully. But it gives you a little bit of an insight into the idea of there's this warrior prince type character, and he goes about making tea in the same way as he would swipe a sword in battle.
Yeah,
Everything is very
yeah. Precise.
succinct and precise. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. There's a manner in which it is done, but it's not just just talking about poise and body, the position, but even just the state of mind that the one has to be in while preparing it, right? It's an
yeah,
entire I
it's
get it.
intentional.
Yeah,
I think is the thing.
yeah, nothing
It's incredibly
exactly.
intentional. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so yes.
Well, I do have a few questions. I have a few questions about that.
Okay.
So firstly, you did the course. Where did you do the course?
I did it in London.
And how?
I did it on my birthday in London. They're in Notting Hill, on the Portobello Road. There's a little Chinese tea shop, and they ran courses, and I was the only person there, so it was just me and the owner of the tea shop, who's Chinese native, and I spent like I think about 4 hours or something there, learning about tea, tasting different teas, getting to understand the infusions and the process, and yeah, it was amazing.
So obviously you don't like tea at all.
I'm
But
English. What do you think? But none of this, milk and two sugars nonsense. No. I'm not English in that way. That stuff tastes like a dishwater, I think is the best way to put it. No, I like loose leaf tea.
so you're also a tea snob as well. Okay.
What do you mean also a tea snob? What else am I a snob about? I'm certainly not a coffee
In
snob.
addition, yeah, you said
Okay. Throwing some shade
In
my
addition
way
to
just because we're live.
no, I'm just because in addition to loving tea,
Yes.
you are also, you know what I mean. That also was for that.
Right.
Yeah, and but you always you love different types of tea. So what's special about this tea then? Like I understand the ritual, but the tea, the taste as well. What's it made
Well,
of? Like now I'm a bit curious, and then we'll definitely go back to the
all
clips.
right.
This is
Okay.
usually how the go.
We'll
Yeah.
follow your curiosity because it's a great way to learn.
Yeah.
which I'm pretty sure we talk about in another episode, but there we go. All right, so the thing is with tea is that tea leaves can be grown in many different climates, but the climate, the soil, the process all change the flavor of the tea, essentially. Think about,
Makes sense.
if you think about fine
I'm with
wine,
you so
yeah,
far.
or just think about wine in general. Okay, grapes that grow in southern Italy are going to create a certain type of wine. Grapes that are grown in northern France are going to create a different type of wine, because the environment's different, the growing conditions are different, the different types of grape grow
Isn't that funny?
in different parts of the world. Tea is the same.
Yeah, it's so funny that when you were talking about tea, I understood it. And then when you moved to wine, I was like, okay, now I understand it perfectly. Anyway, let's.
This is. We've got so distracted. We lost the only person who was watching. Okay.
Yeah. Then they came back.
Hey, hello, welcome back. Feel free to drop us a comment. Yeah, friend, family, stranger, say hello. It would be nice to hear from you. All right, so moving on, episode 3. Ramps, this was one that you took a look at. Give us a quick summary about what episode 3 was about.
Oh, episode 3 was let me building rapport. Yes, episode 3 was about building rapport. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just bad with remembering the title. Oh, that was a very good one. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed watching it again.
Mm-hmm.
And that one, the takeaway, my main takeaway from that one was the 80-20 rule. That it really stuck with me, and I've tried to do it ever since, and shared it a lot with my clients.
Should we play the clip so people know what the 80-20 rule is?
Yeah. Okay.
Here we go.
Of course, yeah.
Think about it this way. If you're trying to build a relationship with someone, you should be doing 80% listening and 20% speaking. And in that 20% speaking, you're asking questions, you're being curious.
Yeah, I was going to say, how else if you're listening?
There we go.
Yes.
80% listening, 20% speaking.
Yeah. I've shared it a lot with my clients, especially the more extroverted clients. Because this is something. The nice thing though is that they are quite aware of themselves, so they do ask questions as well, right? It's not they aren't going to go on and on and on and on. But yeah, the 80-20, that one is really great, and I think it's something that we should. I would try to. I'm trying to apply on a daily basis, even just.
Right.
Yeah.
I
want to do so.
I absolutely agree. I actually think my favorite thing from that episode, and one of my favorite techniques that I share and I use myself is that's the episode we talked about mirroring.
Yeah, it was the other one, the other point. that episode, I think I had, when I watched, maybe in the end I had like selected 7 or 8 parts of that episode that I would have just spoken about. But then we decided to cut it down to just one. So here we are.
Yeah.
But no, it was just there was so much useful information in it that you can start applying immediately, and outside of just language itself, just the topic, building rapport in general, with the added layer of language, of course. It's just, I think it was a really there are a lot of useful things there, and listening back to it myself as well, I sort of relearned some things. It
Mm.
it even while listening to it, I didn't. There wasn't a moment where I thought there's something I could add to this now, because there were several things that I still haven't tried
Right.
long enough to be able to have an informed and well researched answer that, okay, this is how it works. Or this is, yeah.
Well,
What about you?
I have something to add to it, actually. I have made a connection through a conversation that we were having last night, actually, about building rapport. And this also links to mirroring. Mirroring is repeating back to someone what you've understood them to say, as a way of A, building rapport, and B, not having to go through the shame experience of saying, I haven't understood you, right? The reason why mirroring, I think, is so good is to really build rapport with someone. They have to feel safe around you.
Yeah,
They
that's
have to
true.
feel safe. It's the only way you're going to build trust is when someone feels safe in your company. And telling someone, I am listening to you, and everything you said, by repeating it back to them, is such a key way to make that connection and make that person feel heard. And it just makes things so much simpler afterwards to build a relationship with them, if you're able to create that trust. And if you use that technique, it's going to accelerate how quickly somebody trusts you, just simply by knowing that they've been heard by you.
I don't want to thinking of it now. Yeah, I think it's great to know that you've been listened to. I think people appreciate that.
Absolutely.
And with the mirroring effect, it's very much implied that I've been listening attentively.
Well, it's not even implied. It is you're giving evidence that has happened.
Yeah, you're demonstrating, I suppose. Yeah,
exactly.
Maybe not implied is not the right word. Yeah, you're demonstrating.
Yeah, when you imply something, it's the thing that is unsaid, right? Right, but
in between lines,
you're actually you're using the same words in a lot of cases, so it is absolutely the opposite. Yeah.
And this connection, this is from yesterday's conversation. You're saying it's
yeah. When Ramps and I are both studying at the moment, and on the course that we're doing, the subject was resistance, and the key to moving through resistance is creating rapport and trust, which is why it made me think of it. So
yeah,
there you go. If you're still resisting using mirroring, now you know.
Nice. That's actually good too. I like that.
Yeah.
One. Sorry, no, go for it.
No. Please, by all means.
Well, we're on episode 4 then, which
we're going to move into
episode 4. That was episode 3, right?
Yes. Episode 4, I believe, was the power of language.
Yes,
the power of language.
This one. Would you like me to? Do you want to play the clip?
Let's get a little bit of background. We language is such a big part of our daily activities, being language coaches.
Yeah.
This conversation really revolved around the language that we use with ourselves predominantly. And this clip that we've got coming up is how powerful it is to change your mindset from things that you feel are an obligation to turning things into an opportunity. So I'll play the clip now, and then we can discuss a bit further afterwards. Here we go.
There's another one that I can think of, which comes from, I believe it comes from Tony Robbins, but I've heard many different coaches using it. But we use the phrase "I have to" a lot. Oh, I have to pick up the kids from school. I have to get this product finished by the end of the week. I have to record a podcast. And actually, the implication of using "have to" is that
An obligation.
it's an obligation, right? So if you shift,
choice.
exactly. So if you shift "have" to "get," completely changes the intention of what you're doing. I get to pick up the kids from school. Yeah.
You're more excited. Yeah.
Exactly. It's an opportunity. It's not an obligation, right?
So, have to versus get to. Such a powerful thing to tell your mind when things seem like they're negative. Oh, right. In the same conversation, you were talking about just the body language of have to is low, whereas get to is a bit higher, right?
Yeah.
A bit more.
Yeah,
Rams?
because pardon?
Yeah, why don't you go into the have to get to?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Like in that video, just maybe a few seconds just before that
Mhm.
clip, that would I think I had a what would be called an aha moment, right?
Yes.
Because
Ding.
as you said it, I thought actually yes, and then I realized that in my body, I noticed a difference in my body, that I've been sitting like this before. I have to, and we're talking, and then when you said, and I kind of stood up even. It's like, yeah, I get to, which just sort of happened naturally, right? And we were lucky enough, I guess, that I'd observed it, and I'm like, get to, and yeah, it just it does that mind shift. Even so, from hearing it, I had a physical reaction to just hearing it, and then obviously hearing it, processing it, and of course accepting it, and then it was yeah. I
Nice.
think it underlined the as you said, the importance of for ourselves as well, of how we speak to ourselves. And I connected this with the public speaking one, and actually just today, because I was over the last couple of days, I've been listening and watching, because I was helping a client prepare today for a public speaking. Actually, yesterday and today, two clients, they had meetings, and so they're feeling a little bit anxious about them. I referenced this, so instead of looking at language, I started it from basically that clip, and connected to what the course we're doing yesterday. And I said, okay, just be aware of your own body, right? And it actually led to a very interesting conversation with both of them, where we were no longer looking just so like language, but we were looking at, okay, do this so then you can work on language, which is something that we've spoken about in you as a lot over several episodes we've had so far. So this week was the first week that I've actually put it to practice as well. Like, okay, so it was really, that's sort of connection there. I'm jumping to, like, I just jumped like 3-4 episodes ahead. Right, I connected 3-4, but
Well, I think you make it a good point. Like the point of everything we're doing, we try to have some sort of flow to what we're doing, but really it's all one big conversation. Everything is tied to everything. Right? Almost all the episodes that we've done revolve around habits and routines. Okay. The mindset aspect is applicable to every single different technique that we use. You know, how you speak to yourself, how you approach, how you motivate yourself. Everything is tied together. These
How
are
you
all,
perceive it, perception.
yeah,
You know, I think this is the two places that we went to with the clients yesterday, today and yesterday's. It was perception.
Yeah.
The conversation drifted there, you know, with asking questions. You know how what we're doing. I'm just putting it into practice, and
Yeah.
strangely, both of them, it ended up in perception. You know,
Mm.
and as soon as we can get to the point of perception, I think we're in a great place, because
Yeah.
now we know that it means we can change it.
Well,
Right? The moment
after-
it becomes clear that it is a
Mhm.
perception, you're like, I think you are now in a position of control. Like, okay, yeah, it's perception. Well, that is something that I can change. Now, how do I change my perception? Then that becomes a new question to answer. But it's a place of strength, I think. You know, a good place to be.
Well, from perception comes intention. That's the next step, right? Once you understand something from seeing it, then it's the intention of changing it, or working with it, or applying it, whatever it is. But you have to see it first before you can be able to do that. So
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's a really powerful thing. I think if you can realize that, then
Mm.
you're off to a good start already. You know, because
absolutely,
as we said a few times as well, it's about being, because then you realize then that means it's starting internally.
yes,
It
exactly.
forces you to go back inside. So
Yeah, you
and
are
then
an
coming
English
back,
speaker.
yeah,
You're
I
not
am someone
trying
who
to
speaks
be an English
inside.
speaker. Yeah, exactly. I am an English speaker.
Yeah,
I embody the kind of person that speaks English. And
don't wait to
does-
be C1 before you say that.
there,
That's but
there
we
is
have
no
I
such
have
thing as
clients who are like
perfection.
that. Yeah,
No,
but you know exactly who I'm referring
yeah,
to. You know the type,
yeah.
the people we work with. Some of them
Mm.
at B2, and they won't be able to say it. They'll be too afraid to say that. Like, I'm an English speaker. They say, no, I don't speak English. I speak. It's too much. And like, don't do that. Don't.
Exactly.
Why are you
Exactly.
belittling yourself like that? You have that skill. It may not be at the level that you'd like it to be at the
Mhm.
moment.
Yet.
At the moment is very important, or yet as well, right?
Mhm.
But you do have that skill. Like in any other skill, there are different levels of how proficient a person is in that particular, using that particular skill. You know,
Mhm.
how well a person uses a skill. So
I think as well, one of the problems is the level system, because the level system means that people, they don't see how they are progressing. The only benchmark for them is, oh, I'm a C1 now.
yeah,
They don't
it's
they
good.
they don't internalize the little wins along the way. And
But why do you? But how? Why do you think that's because of the levels? How do you connect that to the levels?
because it's a linear way of learning.
Yeah,
People think about, oh, I have to be a C1. That is the only thing that matters. It's like, well, no, you could be a C1 reader and a B2 speaker. Okay, where you're at, the level doesn't matter. It's the comfort. It's the sense of self when immersed in another language that's more important. If we took levels away and just said, okay, let's improve your English so you get to where you want to be, then everyone's point of satisfaction will be different, but their
Yeah.
fluency doesn't depend on a letter and a number. It depends on their level of comfort when speaking.
You make a fair point. No, you make a fair point, but I think it's not just levels. I don't. Maybe it's because I don't necessarily connect that to the levels themselves. I think I connect that rather to the person, because if you ask me about levels in any language that I speak, I won't be able to really tell you, because I don't really, the level thing and the language coding is something that I learned when I came to live in Europe. Before that, I didn't even know that existed. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
I know, but you're
it
bilingual,
doesn't-
mate. So I mean, we've spoken about this before.
I know.
Your perception of learning a language is very different to someone who is not bilingual, because yours is through lived experience, whereas for most people, learning a second language is an academic suit.
Well, but
and therefore it's
I learned-
graded, and it's measured by mistakes, and it's measured by levels and grades, and that adds a different perspective, a different level of pressure.
Certainly, yes, but I guess I don't know. I see what you mean, because I understand that yes, I'm bilingual, so it is quite different the way probably I look at languages and language learning. But yeah, but even in Italian, like when I learned Italian, I didn't really, I don't know what my level is in Italian, and it doesn't interest me really at all. What interests me is what you said before, like how the level of comfort in speaking the language. But maybe that's because I don't need to work in Italian. So that's what I think. What I'm trying to say is, I think it's more like work and things like that, because rather than the levels themselves, like if someone is chasing a level, I think then it is that person. But I think it's more like connected to work. I don't know. I don't think it's the level system. I think it's good. It helps people. It encourages them. If you are something like that is something that would interest you, like having a specific level. So
okay, well, I mean, for me, I personally feel it's part of an antiquated system of schooling, if I'm honest. But that's another conversation.
Well, so, we could have it right now.
We could, but I want to move
no
on
one's
to
watching.
episode 5. I know. All right, okay. So, antiquated system of schooling. We all of the schooling, well, not all of the schooling systems. Majority of schooling systems are still based on a Victorian style, antiquated way of teaching, which is very much about grading, standard testing, and creating workers, not thinkers. That's my point. And I think that the CEFL, is it CFL? CEFL?
The grading system.
Whatever it is, the grading system, the language works in the same way. And I think, okay, fair enough, lower levels. If you're a beginner, if you have a bit of language, if you...
Here's a question.
Right. But as soon as you get to B2, like the distance between levels grows so big, but everyone focuses on the next level. It's like, okay, but the time and effort to get there, I don't know, maybe it's down to communication. Maybe people that have worked with them haven't expressed the fact that it does take a long time to move through the higher levels. You can't expect to whiz through it the same way that you did pre-intermediate and intermediate. But for me, I don't know. I'm not an advocate for grading systems that way.
No, no, clearly I can I can see.
Yeah.
I think it affects people who want a specific job or want to study a specific in a specific place. If that doesn't apply to you, I don't see why would anyone. And I know there are people who do, but it would be so. It's funny to me that someone would stress themselves about a C1, B1, that if they don't
they
need it for a
do.
job or study. Yeah, I know, but
they do
okay.
stress, and they don't need it. You see it all the time,
yeah,
right?
Like, but yeah, like, but then that's a them thing, For them,
But we
it's
see
important.
Is it just a them thing? If you the more often you see it, then maybe it's not a them thing. Maybe it's a systemic thing, an institutional thing.
Yeah. No, look, yeah, look, you're right, man. I get it. But look where we are. You guys regulate everything. You guys regulate everything, man. There's nothing that isn't regulated here. But I mean, in Europe.
You guys? In Europe. Oh, okay. I'm not part of Europe anymore. It's not me.
You know what I mean.
I didn't do it, boss.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, but it's that. Like, it's incredible. Like, on one end it's admirable, and the other end it's crazy. Like this. Like, I do kind of agree with you, man. It is kind of bonkers.
You kind of agree with me,
the
but
same
not
time.
really at the same time, right?
Yeah, like, I get where you're coming from. I think you make a very good point in everything that you've said about how it just sort of encourages doing and not thinking, not questioning. It's not meant for. It's not meant to create thinkers. It's meant to create workers. You're absolutely right. But
how many people have you spoken to in any language, but particularly learning English, where they got a B2 score at school, and then they went to an English speaking country and they still didn't understand anything, right? They felt completely out of their depth and unprepared, and it took them many months to settle into being there. And this is my point: is when you follow the levels in that way, you're ticking boxes. Okay, this is the stuff that we say you need to know, but in actuality, not necessarily the best preparation for real life.
Well, certainly yes, but I think there's another side to look at it as well. It's okay. This it says that this is a person that clearly has the ability to set goals and work through all the way to them. I think you can work with a person like that. So they may not be the level of the English may not really reflect the certificate, and the reality may be two different things. But the determination, the work that the person has put into to get there, you can work with that.
Absolutely. So it's about managing expectations, though, I find.
Yeah, like that's the first thing. My recurring joke with this, when I meet clients who have unrealistic expectations in relation to that, I normally say, look, I am not a prophet or anything. I cannot perform miracles. So what you are asking for is a miracle. Plain and simple. I can't I'm really sorry to say. It sounds awful, man, but that's just the reality.
Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
You want to move from A2 to a B2 within a space of 3 months. Good luck. Godspeed. You know, like,
No,
I
I'm gonna
wish you the best of luck. If you are able to do it, books will be
tell
written
me,
about
tell me how.
probably.
We'll sell a system. Yeah.
Yeah, books will be written about you. A film will be made. But, like truly that level, not just having gone through, because that's another thing. People can go through the testing system so many times just to you can familiar by the time you get to the exam, you're familiar with the format of the exam as well, because you have the resources online. You get there are tons and tons of places to get IELTS, Cambridge, from the official website. Like you can go on Cambridge, they'll give you the sample papers, old sample papers themselves, you know. So you practice, you're familiar with the format, and it's boom.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, moving on. Episode 5.
Wow. What
Ramps.
Yep.
What was this one? Remind me.
Episode 5 was, I think, in maintaining enthusiasm, motivation. No.
Right.
Isn't it?
Oh,
Yes. No.
passive.
Episode 5. What was episode 5? Let's have a look, shall we? I cannot remember all the names because we changed them a lot as well. You know,
All right,
names.
I'll tell you. It was about habit formation.
Oh yes, that one was. Oh, that was a very nice one. Get better with your daily. Yes. Lots. The one that stuck out for me there was the passive and the active activities. You know, specifically with time. That if you're going to go for the passive activities, you're going to have to spend a lot more time to get anything out of it. Whereas if you do something active, you spend less time, but you get a lot more out of it in a small amount of time.
Should we play the clip?
Yes.
Commitment to doing what's necessary to continue to improve. The idea that, you know, you can just watch TV or movies in English and you're going to continue learning. Okay, yes, to a certain point, you're going to pick stuff up. But unless it's very active engagement in that, unless you're writing down notes about the things that you've heard within that so that you can come back to it, refresh it, review it, check out the definition, it's more of a passive exercise than an active exercise.
See, another reason why I like that clip is like for about 4 seconds, you turn into a rapper. You know, if we played the clip again.
Yeah. What was I doing?
Check it, review it. You know, if you could check it, review it. You know. But it rhymes.
I have a varied prosody when I speak. I can do it rhythmically.
Oh man,
I can do it slowly. I can do it quickly. Variety is the spice of life, my friend.
Oh man, it is. But really, that part there, it's like I said, you become a rapper, just kind of almost, whoa, he's gonna drop a bar, you know.
I wish I could rap. Actually, that would be amazing. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is the end of season 1 review. We are Beyond Fluency. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about habit formation and the fact that I wish I could rap. Yeah.
Bye.
Shouldn't have said anything. Oh well. Yeah. No, I think that getting back on track.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
The idea of active and passive, yes, very important. Distinguish between the types of activities you do, and have a variety of those within your learning habits. If you have the tendency of doing more passive stuff, you have to balance it out with active.
Now we're
Otherwise,
going into tracking,
right?
because
Yeah,
when
tracking.
you track,
Yeah.
because it's the very same episode. Remember, this is the episode 5 is about daily habit. Daily habits.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
this is one of the things that we mentioned here. So when you track, if you're keeping tabs on the type of activities that you're doing, the amount of time, you're then able to quickly realize where you're spending time and where you're not spending enough time, where you need to increase time.
Is that why it's such an important subject to you, Ramps? Is it's that visual reference for where you are, what you're spending your time on, what you're not spending your time on, for example.
Yeah. I think how I use my time throughout generally entire day. I really like knowing exactly where I am in time and and how much time I have. I like knowing how much time it takes me to do things as well.
How do you go about that? What format do you use for a visual representation of your habit formation? What do you do? Like, do you use a computer? Do you use an app? Do you use pen and paper? Practically, how do you track any habits that you're doing?
Recently, I'm using an A-size kind of board, A4, A5 size board, I think.
Mate, that's
whiteboard
A2
marker. A2.
It's a whiteboard.
Yeah, whiteboard. I use a whiteboard, and I just kind of old school. I like it. I like it because I can see it all the time. It's right in front of me now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, is having it there as a constant reminder helpful?
Yeah.
Or do you think it could be overwhelming?
I see. It's just X ticking. No, it's not. I think it becomes overwhelming when there's no flexibility in the time table.
Okay.
If you want to do it at the same time every day, that doesn't work for me.
Okay.
I can wake up, I can do that every day, but to exercise at the same time every day, maybe It's a nice, for example, today I didn't exercise in the morning because I knew that today I'm gonna cycle to the school where I go and I work with Italian teachers, right? To the clients. So it didn't make sense to work out in the morning because my workout is half an hour a day if I'm gonna do something.
All right. Okay. So you're tracking the time of activity, not necessarily the activity itself. Is that right? So you're tracking 30 minutes of exercise per day, but it doesn't have to be the same kind of exercise each day.
No, it doesn't have to be. I just do exercise because I'm not chasing a particular body or anything. I just want to exercise. I think that's why it's just
but that's an important distinction to make when you are forming habits. It's not necessarily okay. I have to watch a 5-minute video every day. It's I have to do 5 minutes practice every day. That could be watching a video, that could be reading an article, that could be listening to a podcast, right? So it's more about the distinction of total time rather than the actual activity.
I mean, obviously this is what works for me. I find this is what works for me. Someone else may need things to be clearly defined and determined and happen the same time every day.
I think it depends what you're trying to do as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of language, your weak points. Generally, the things that you find difficult.
Yeah.
what you have to decide is, are the things that I find difficult going to be things that I have to improve for however I want to use the language? Because if you find writing difficult, but actually you spend all of your time speaking and you don't have to send emails for your job, spending a lot of time improving your writing skill isn't necessarily useful. But usually it's the other way around. Most people spend a lot of time writing, but not so much time speaking. Because
I mean, I think writing well is always useful to be able to write, and to be able to write well. I wouldn't say it's not useful. No, it's always useful to write well, man.
You see my point about what is your current goal with your language learning. If your current goal is to prepare to go on holiday and speak English in a foreign environment, practicing your writing emails isn't going to be helpful to you. If your goal is to get a promotion at work so that you can start working with more international clients, then writing emails is going to be very important to you.
For you, yeah.
Your goals will change within different periods of your life, but you have to be strategic with how you are dividing your time on the skills and the habits that you're forming.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that takes us now to episode number 6.
Yeah, 6. Okay, so moving on from habit formation, we talked about motivation.
Yes.
Motivation. And we had a little disagreement in this episode. We were talking about mastery and what it means. Yeah. And we kind of disagreed. And when I was rewatching it, I was like, okay, I don't think I made my point clearly. And you're definitely, yeah. When we were discussing the idea of mastery anyway, and when we were discussing it, you were adamant that mastery is you have a lot of skill already and you're fine tuning. And I was saying, no, that's not necessarily true. And I think I should have been clearer with the fact that the definition of mastery when it comes to motivation is the idea of continuing to get a bit better at what you're doing, no matter what stage of your journey you're at. It's the idea that you're doing something difficult enough to challenge you, and therefore you can keep improving with it. That is mastery within motivation.
All right.
But let's have a look at the discussion.
The clip.
You can see what I mean.
So mastery is doing something that you need to continually get better at. Things should be challenging enough that you can get better at it, but not too challenging that you get overwhelmed and you burn out and don't want to do it anymore.
In other words, the mastery part of it would be the fine tuning of the skill, whichever skill it is. Because you have the skill already. You are aware of how well or good you're able to use the skill. And now you are looking at the finer details of
I don't know. It depends, because if you've got a massive life purpose, a huge goal, a world-changing idea, there's going to be many elements to that maybe you don't know how to do yet. Right? If we look at it in terms of language, how many subjects are there that don't come up in regular English teaching? If you think about it, how many people know how to speak to a mechanic in English? They're fine doing a negotiation for a law firm.
Yeah.
But how many people know how to talk about car engines? I mean,
yeah. It's
I,
actually
I
true.
have a basic knowledge of car engines. I know what the terminology is to use with it. I have no idea how to actually do any of the stuff, but I know the language associated to it.
Yeah.
That's just
No,
one example. How many examples, how many topics, subject areas that can you dive into? Okay, to reach your goal, how many of these subject areas do I need to learn about to get to that point, to feel comfortable in that environment? So there are many different aspects of the language that you will need to master. So it's not just fine tuning. Perhaps it's starting completely anew because it's the subject that you've never even.
Alrighty. So yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of gave it away before I played the clip, but that's okay. Always rewatch your clips before playing them. That's if you need to introduce something. But you know, we live and learn. We live and learn.
I thought you were introducing it.
Yeah, I thought I was introducing it too, but I ended up spilling the beans. That's a nice idiom for you. Or spill the. I think spill the tea is popular now, isn't it? Spill the tea.
Oh,
Have you heard this phrase?
Yeah. No. Spill the tea. This
To
is
spill the
new.
tea, yeah. To spill the tea is to another. I wanted to use another idiom to explain it. To dish the dirt. To
Yeah. To dish the dirt.
supply the gossip. I think is the best way of it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supply the supply the
Supply the gossip. Not an idiom.
I like that. Supply.
Come on, supply the gossip.
Where did you get this gossip around the corner? There's a good supply around there.
Oh man, I got some good gossip this week. Yeah,
Oh, come on. You got to get me some, man. You got to get me some
Straight-
gossip there, man. I how much
straight from
I'm
Amsterdam.
talking?
20-pound bag. 20-pound bag of gossip. Well, they'll sell
Crazy.
anything over there.
Really?
Wouldn't know.
I hadn't heard. I didn't decide. What is this place you speak of?
Oh,
Amsterdam?
Amsterdamen. Oh.
Yeah, how
Yeah.
would it be?
Yeah, guys, just so
No
you
problem.
know, this is usually what happens about an hour into our conversations is we tend to go a bit silly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do get a bit silly.
But let's
Wait,
talk about
wait.
motivation though. Okay. Go on. I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. Let's talk about motivation. So what's like Ramps, you're an energetic person,
Mhm.
but you also have periods of inactivity and demotivation.
Oof. Yeah.
We've talked about stacking motivation in the video and the different areas. What is something that you can do if you have got yourself stuck in a rut, i.e., you feel stuck in the position that you're in and it's difficult to find motivation?
Let's just start with one thing.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the same thing I tell my clients with language as well. Just start with one thing. If you don't have the motivation to start, or you're in the moment where you lack a bit of motivation to start, yeah, start with one thing, something simple, something that you can do easily, and then you can work it from there. It will fuel the motivation. Usually, doing one thing and building consistency with that one thing, it helps to start adding more things to it.
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes it's not so much. I've been thinking about motivation a little bit, and sometimes I don't think it's so much its motivation that is lacking. I think it's just unrealistic expectations of ourselves. You know? So not so much the motivation itself, but we just and I see with the clients as well. Even just you were speaking about the levels earlier on. That's a good example to go about unrealistic expectations on, right? And set these unrealistic expectations on yourself in a short space of time, and it's just going to put you under pressure. So I'm re-looking at motivation, even with clients. I'm not so quick anymore to say, okay, there's a lack of motivation here. It's maybe sort of like, okay, are you setting realistic goals? Let's start there.
Right.
And then, yeah.
Agreed.
I don't know. What do you think?
I think, yeah, there's certainly a lot of power in what's the one thing I can do today that will get me closer to my goal. And stay doing that one thing and building up momentum, and then adding a second thing. I 100%, I'm absolutely the person who overwhelms myself with things that I want to do. I've got thousands of ideas. I can break those ideas down into steps, but often there are just so many steps. You don't know where to start. You get overwhelmed, and then you end up doing nothing because it's too much for the brain to process. So, yeah, doing one thing, even just one thing a day, even just 5 minutes a day, and getting comfortable with that before adding anything else, I think is probably the best, most important thing that you can do to start building motivation.
Yeah, in that moment with the can we agree that it's not so much motivation? Can we just say rather than motivation, it's more likely feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah,
right.
It's analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
You're overthinking it so much that it paralyzes you and stops you from taking action.
Exactly. All right. So it is more likely you're overwhelmed, which is why starting with one thing works, because really you're overwhelmed. You don't lack the motivation. You just are trying to do too much at the same time. So when you pull all of the things that are not top priorities now away and just work with whatever are the things that are the most important things, the fundamental, then you realize that you actually have the motivation. And then over time you can add those things. That's why I'm saying, like, again, I obviously I come to this realization because I look at myself as well, right?
Oh yeah.
Obviously it's not just the work that I'm doing with my clients. So it's a realization that I've come to maybe over the last week and a half, maybe even 2-3 weeks, something like that. It's been a bit of a while, but okay. And so I've started to say to myself, okay, I'm overwhelmed. So that and I realize, okay, so I need to start saying no, probably somewhere. Maybe I'm saying yes too much, it happens. It happens. We all go through moments where we are very, very probably available, and moments where we're not so available to our friends, to our family, and it just kind of happens. So at this particular moment in time, that I had realized that, I'm like, no, I was probably being overwhelmed. And so I started doing less. And from that, I just kind of felt better. I didn't stop doing the other things. So yeah, we were quick. So how do you think this can translate into language then? Because I mean, I think you asked me a good question. With this, what I've just said now, how can that translate into language?
Well, I mean, it absolutely relates to language, because the one thing ties into the habit, ties into the consistency, ties into breaking it down into smaller pieces that are more manageable. I think that we're living in a world where the expectation is that things get done quickly. And
It doesn't, yeah,
right?
it doesn't help. Yeah.
The information, the information age is, we're constantly bombarded with information, with communication, with the subliminal messaging that you're not going fast enough, you're not big enough, you're not strong enough, you're not sexy enough, you're just not enough, right? And so we have these incredibly high expectations of ourselves and what we should be able to achieve, and that's where the overwhelm comes from. I feel the people I feel sorry for are the kids, young people today, because I know how much I struggle with all of this stuff as an adult. So all of the social media, all of the marketing and the information, the constant overwhelm, what's that going to do to their brains as they're still developing? We're already seeing in places like the US a rise in youth suicide, a rise in school shootings by teenagers. There's all of these mental health issues happening in an unstable country because your brain doesn't stop developing until it's 25. So if you're bombarded with an incredible amount of information from an early age, it's going to affect you. I dread to think the kind of mental health issues that they're going to be when Gen Z get to my age at 44, right? In 7 to 17 years.
Yeah.
So I know I've gone off on a little dark tangent there, but
no, I did.
I think in terms of motivation and how to get back on track and how to use that with language is you take each day as it comes. Just because you have a bad day with your language, you have a day where you can't get the words out, you make mistakes, you feel self-conscious, insecure.
Oh man, even
about speaking. Get back on the horse the next day. Keep going.
What if it's something bigger? What if it's messing up in a meeting? You know.
I will quote Bluey. Have a little cry, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and on with the show. For those of you who haven't come across Bluey and you want to get some experience of the Australian accent and you're quite happy to watch children's animated programs, I cannot recommend it highly enough, especially for those of you who are parents or who are going to be parents or who have young children in your life. There is something in that show for everyone. It's amazing. It's
Bluey,
yeah. Very good. Very good. You find it on Disney Plus, but it's everywhere. Did you know actually on Disney Plus, the streaming service, Bluey accounted for 26% of all watch time worldwide on Disney Plus.
Wow.
Which is more than Marvel and Star Wars combined.
Yeah, right. Makes sense though.
Right? That's how popular it is.
That's how good it is. That's how good it is. That's how
It's
good it
so
is,
good.
man. Not
It's so funny. It's so creative. It's everything that you want in a show with your kids.
for
When
kids,
Bluey's
yeah.
on, I sit down and I watch Bluey with the kids because I love it. I've seen most of them many times, and I still love it.
But I feel like
it's fantastic.
I feel like you would. I feel like you would say that though about a lot of cartoons. I'll
No.
sit and watch with the kids. Everything else that you said,
No.
except sit and watch with the kids. Are you not a cartoon person? I love.
No,
that's 'cause
I love cartoons, but there's a lot of rubbish nowadays because of streaming, and my kids watch a lot of rubbish that I wouldn't watch with them because they're terrible. But if Bluey's on, I'll sit and watch Bluey. I can't even, mate. I could list off 5 different ones off the top of my head very easily. There's so much rubbish in terms of cartoons. It's quantity, not quality nowadays, because every streaming service needs to entertain the children. So the writing is bad. In some case, the animation is bad. You know, it's recycled storylines. It's
Hollywood.
There are no original. That's why Bluey is so good, is because it's so original and it's so unique, and it's done with love. You could feel the love that the producers put into that show. It's a family. It's made by families for families.
No, it's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it is.
It is beautiful.
Anywho, episode 7, my friends.
Oh, we're almost at the last episode.
Yes.
Almost. Okay.
Episode
7.
So episode 7, presentation skills.
It's presentation skills.
Yeah.
That was the big takeaway from that one after watching it again, and is humanizing. We spoke about that a lot, being a little bit more, as much as it's important to be well prepared for the presentation and so on, but just remember to be a little bit of yourself in it as well. We spoke about personalizing by speaking about maybe a story or sharing something that's closely linked to it, and that's a really good one. And I've started to use it with my clients since we spoke about it, because everyone I always ask them, like, why does everyone insist on like business presentations being boring? Like, it's almost like people have decided this somewhere at some point, this is the format. I'm like, when did this sort of happen? Why does it have to be so and then slides and it's like,
it's the voice. It's the voice, isn't it? There is a particular presentation voice that has developed because of business presentations, and it's very monotone, right?
I don't understand. I'm like, what is so? I really liked that. I like that in episode 7. Just being yourself. In the presentation. Yes, prepare. Yes, do all the things that you need to do, but just show a little bit of yourself. Give people something to remember. If you're just gonna come and do what everybody else does, then it's hard to remember.
Right.
If I meet 10 people called Alex, right, and the 11th person I meet is called Matt, who do you think I'm going to remember?
Veronica. You're not going to remember the boys.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Who are you again?
But you get what I'm saying, right? But
I do.
That one,
you're right. You're right.
One was. It was.
Don't be vanilla, is what you're saying. Don't be vanilla. Don't be plain when
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
presenting. Yeah, be yourself. Yeah.
Wait, be yourself. You said don't be vanilla. I was like, hold on. Okay. Okay, I'm not. No one is being insulted here. Okay. All
No,
right.
being vanilla is another way of saying something
Of
is
saying
plain
being pretty. Yeah,
and
being like a
potentially boring.
like a plain Jane.
Exactly. There you go. Back to girls. What can we do? Yeah.
It's such a horrible thing to say though about somebody. Eh? Like I
Yeah.
think I
What, they're vanilla?
just yeah to say
Plain.
someone is vanilla or someone is
I can't
it's a
think. I mean,
plain Jane.
it's really it's not an insult. It's so derogatory and mean, but
Yeah,
there
it's just
it's really it's very unpleasant. God, if someone said that I was boring, I would be like, what?
oh that wouldn't bother. Some people might say that men were like much older. Maybe when we were younger, now maybe some of the conversations we want to have.
Well,
I mean, the
that's
kids
true. It's
already
perspective.
yeah, the kids are
Yeah.
like if you and I have a conversation and my son comes and okay, he needs something, he's not gonna join in. Definitely not. You know?
No.
And if he's forced, maybe when we're doing our goodbyes, he's just sort of like, okay, when are we leaving, man? You know, he just
Yeah.
clearly you're boring.
Yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
can live with that.
you're not talking about Pokemon or FIFA.
I think
Or
exactly. I think it's the wording, you know, just if you're going to say something horrible, just say it. Don't say plain Jane or vanilla or
yeah,
don't say it in that way. You know, it's awful.
yeah.
Just if
I
you're gonna
know.
be horrible, just be horrible. Okay. Don't sit on the fence about it.
Oh man, if there's something that's great about English, there are so many ways to be horrible to people.
Yeah.
You could. There's so many ways to insult people without them realizing a lot of the time as well.
Oh jeez. Yeah. No,
Which is
but I think the Brits you do that one very well. You know,
oh yeah, the
the
passive aggressive,
passive
backhanded
aggressive,
compliments.
backhanded compliments. Wow, it's just like
Mhm.
you know.
God,
just,
my old man made a living out of it, mate. So
oh man,
yeah.
it just so subtle, even just in the tone of so it's so those are the trousers you've decided to wear. Oh, okay. You know, obviously, I'm gonna turn around and like, okay, something's wrong with the trousers.
Because it's all in the it's in the those are the trousers you're gonna wear. Oh.
He's not looking at him. You're like, oh, okay. Maybe these are the trousers I'm gonna wear. Maybe I was just trying to like options. Let me show you the second option. Yeah, no,
Yeah, guilty.
yeah, no, yeah. Awful. No, but it's fun. It makes me laugh. I like listening to just sort of friends speaking among themselves. It's nice to listen to the banter from different countries. So if you listen to guys from Nigeria speaking a little bit of banter among themselves, good mates, it'll be different from Irish dudes or Australian, South African. It's fun.
Yeah.
So things like this, for example, what we're talking about now, like those moments. Yeah, I think about them as a little bit of banter. I think that's a
Yeah.
nice thing as well. Like you don't take yourselves too seriously. I think that's the thing with the Brits as well. With even just in a way.
Well, I don't, not so much anymore. I think the stereotype of the stiff upper lip Brit, who's very uptight about things, was there are still people like that, but it's not as common as it was back in the 50s, 60s, even 70s.
Yeah, but the world was like a very different place then. That
Of
was
course.
perhaps this, you know, and so
The stiff upper lip era
Mm-hmm.
was, 50s BBC. Oh, hello, everyone talks like this, and the
Yeah.
lip doesn't move at the top because everyone has to talk. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that's where the stiff upper lip comes from.
The stiff upper lip comes from, yeah. It was a
I
different
think so.
time.
Anyway, I think so. I could be wrong, but it makes sense because everyone used to talk in exactly the same way. Yeah.
I saw this was an April Fool's joke, and I think it's just telling of how far we've come as it's just people. I don't. I think it was apparently it was a broadcast in the 60s or 70s. I don't know in the UK, BBC. It was an April Fool's joke about the spaghetti harvest. And,
Yeah. That was David Attenborough. Yeah. Yeah, spaghetti growing on trees in Italy.
and people apparently believed it, you know.
Yeah.
How far
And here we are in Puglia, Italy, where the annual spaghetti harvest is happening. Yeah. Oh, Ramps, we've lost you. All right. Looks like I'm on my own. Okay. Yes, the spaghetti harvest. That's an interesting one. Here he comes. Welcome back.
Okay,
You left me all alone.
Well, this is just as we're talking about crazy stories about people being, I guess, very naive and gullible, but a different time, of course. Did you see that story about I don't know, someone who pretended to be Brad Pitt in hospital, stranded, and
No.
people send them money?
What?
I did something ridiculously crazy.
What's this?
yeah, like what's this?
All right, hold the phone.
Apparently,
Hold
yeah.
the phone.
Yeah, Scap.
Brad Pitt in hospital. Fake Brad Pitt in hospital. Where?
Yeah. Like this isn't like just now, bro. Like
Explain.
this is okay. I didn't read it, so but I didn't read the article. I read the headline. The story of Anne, a French woman in her 50s, was recently broadcast on the French TV channel TF. Anne explained how she ended up paying 830,000 euros to swindlers posing as a sickly Brad Pitt who was supposedly in love with her. The scammer sent fake selfies generated by artificial.
Oh, come on.
I mean, like it was. I'm so sorry for this, but
bless, she's so stupid. So I'm sorry, but have you heard of the Darwin Awards?
Look, it's an awful thing to laugh about, but
have you heard
I
of
mean,
the Darwin Awards, right?
No.
The
But
Darwin Awards are awards
No.
given each year to people who did something so stupid they wiped out their idiot gene from the world forever, whether that be through death or through becoming impotent, and like the level of stupidity involved in it is incredible. This should have its own type of award. Really, love, come on. 830,000 euros to Brad Pitt because he really needs the money and he's so in love with you.
Oh man, like when I read it, Julie said she said I was awful for laughing about it. I said to her, but listen to this story. Like let's take a second with me. Multi-million-dollar Hollywood film A-lister Brad Pitt is asking you to send him money in the hospital. and you think this is possible. I'm like, let's say I will indulge you. Let's say it's possible.
Right.
What are the probabilities of it? It's possible. What are the probabilities of Brad Pitt? I mean,
How did he get
it
your
was-
email address? Did you give it to him? How does he even know your name?
Oh,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Like,
mean-
yeah. When I read that, when I read that story, I said, I don't know, man. Maybe the universe has a sense of humor, itself. Maybe this is just, it's so crazy, right? Like, how can you?
I'm coming, Brad Pitt.
It's so difficult not to laugh, man. I feel horrible, obviously, for her at the same time, but
Of course,
gosh.
yeah. I mean,
But
fraudulent activity in con men is a real problem. But
Yeah.
come on, really, that's
Yeah.
Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt.
I mean, one of the most recognizable people. I mean, these guys must be
A
thinking
man,
to
a man
themselves,
in his 60s who could still, he could have any woman over the age of 40. And I would say there is a large percentage of 20 to 30-year-olds that would find him and his power and influence attractive as well, right?
Yeah.
Mm.
I don't know, man. Like, yeah. I think the scammers must have thought to themselves, like, it's working. It's like they're just kind of making it up as they go along. It's like, it's working.
Yeah,
working.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's
And-
working. Oh,
and
okay.
I'm in love with you.
I don't know. I mean, they must have been surprised themselves. Like, it's working. Like,
I know.
anyway,
Oh man.
yeah, we were talking about.
We were talking about presentation. I think that's come and gone. I think. Yeah. Presentation. Humanize yourself.
No, we were talking about no. We were talking about the spaghetti harvest.
Oh, we've gone so off track. Oh, at least we've got this footage for a bloopers reel at some point.
I think it's because we know that no one's watching,
Right.
so we just kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
I think in future we need to be a bit more do what we set out to do, and but
I think we started off the way we started. Are
it's
we
been
gonna?
a good-
Are we gonna upload it?
Yeah, it gets uploaded, all of it. No one's gonna watch all of it. Come on. If you're still watching right now and you've gotten through all of this, congratulations, you win. You're the best. We love you. Craziness. Oh
man.
But anyway, right. Come on, let's wrap it up. We got one more episode.
That's you.
Stuff.
That's you.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
I know
that's
it's
you.
me. I know. Let's jump in. Here we go. Episode 8. How to get over your fear of speaking English. I can't even remember what the clip is about, so I'm just going to play it and then we'll talk about it. Here we go.
Start to think of every interaction you have in English as a lesson, as a practice session. Because if you are in fact working on developing your English and becoming better at it, every interaction that you have in English is essentially an opportunity for you to practice. Whether you're writing an email or listening to something or speaking with someone, viewing this as an opportunity to practice your English means you're open up to learning. It's sort of admitting that I'm not a finished product yet. I still got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So that's another one I give as a form of sort of challenging this one.
Yeah, I like that one. And I think you have to bear in mind as well, at B2 level, you shouldn't be understanding everything. You're still going to have gaps in your knowledge. When you listen, especially to a native speaker, you should really be understanding 80 to 90% of what is said. So there's always room for learning. As an advanced level, you're going to be understanding 90 to 95%. And then as a proficient level, 95 to 100. But armed with that in mind, it takes the pressure off. It's like, oh, actually, yeah, I shouldn't be understanding. What can I learn from this conversation? It's empowering to remember I'm not going to understand everything. Don't hold yourself to those kind of standards. You're looking for progress, not for perfection.
All right. I really liked your
Yeah.
energy in that clip, Ramps. That's the energy that we need in everything we do.
What was it? What was I like in that? But
And you were animated, you were definite, you were sure. It was a great delivery. I really like that clip of you, and also the point that you were making about every interaction is an opportunity to practice.
yeah, I see. You really liked that. Even then, yeah.
It's good. It's great advice, and it's very true. You may not get that chance to learn from that person again, so make the most of every interaction.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you've taken it a lot further now, man. I was just that simple, but that's adding that layer onto it is even better. Yeah. But I only say that because that's how I approached learning Italian. I
Right.
would just speak to strangers, speak to people I don't know, and like, oh well, the worst that could happen is they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't want to really chat," But it's at the metro. I'm having a smoke. You're having a smoke. We're probably gonna have a conversation, man.
See, there you go. Like, smokers talk to each other.
Yeah. That's actually, yeah. If you want to learn a language,
Take up
do
smoking.
consider.
Don't take up smoking.
Look,
please don't.
It's always
It is not sound health advice.
No,
it's very bad.
Bad health advice. Don't
It's
do
naughty.
it. It's
Naughty.
bad for
Yeah.
you. Very, very bad.
It is.
Ugh.
He
Awful.
says, thinking, "Oh God, I want a cigarette now."
Yeah.
But yes, no,
Yeah,
like
dude.
it's definite. It's a definite place to start social interactions. If you have
It
to be a
is.
smoker, if you're not, then I can't think of an equivalent for a non-smoker.
I mean, I don't know if they exist. If it exists, if there is an equivalent.
Well,
If
I
you think about
suppose
it,
I mean the coffee culture in Italy is pretty strong in that sense.
yeah, but
It's pretty sociable, isn't it?
yeah, you could do that.
Mm.
But the coffee culture is people usually go to have coffee together. You don't go to a place to meet people to have coffee.
Well, you
So-
don't necessarily go to a place to smoke to meet people. You go to a place, then you smoke, then you meet people.
But the
occasionally.
probabilities of a smoker are much, much, much higher.
That's true.
If you think about it, most of the time they go to the when you go to a coffee shop in Italy, a cafe rather, it's because you're going to meet someone you know, a group of people you know. So, and once it's a group, it becomes very difficult to actually sort of speak with people.
True.
You know.
True.
Plus, Milan
Agreed.
is cliquey, man. Milan is very cliquey.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's a cliquey
And
city.
And in London, people don't talk to each other. They
Well,
don't make
people
eye
in
contact.
Milan will speak with each other, but they won't. Yeah, they just making friends won't be so easy.
Yeah.
In London, you don't speak to each other. Yeah, you don't speak to each other. You don't even make eye contact. If you make eye contact, so no.
No, because if you look at someone in the eyes, you turn to stone. In London, that's why there's so many interesting gargoyles in the architecture. Foreigners that have come and made the mistake of doing direct eye contact on the tube.
Yeah. Yeah, no, look, the in Milan, well, you could have a chat, but yeah, I don't. You and eye contact. I mean, in the UK in general, in England, and like maybe London, let me be specific. Big city culture, isn't it? Though, right? You just get on with it. Like, if we don't know each other, if I don't need anything, if we don't know each other, let's get out of each other's way, respect each other's space, and
Yeah.
So it's understandable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Episode number 8.
Yeah, we've done it. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to add to the conversation, getting over the fear of speaking to a native speaker?
Man, mirroring. I ran with mirroring with that because that's another one I could have picked from one of my ones as well. Not anything that comes to mind now with the fear of speaking to natives. I mean, maybe with the fear of speaking to natives, maybe next time I come across this, what I could try is actually the making the person aware of their body, shifting their attention to that. And I haven't tried it, but maybe it could apply to this as well. Like, okay, don't worry, it's normal that you're afraid and so on. And usually with that anyway.
Are you talking about box breathing?
Box breathing, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I think box breathing is a very popular technique that is used to reset your nervous system from a state of fight or flight response to being in control, rest and digest. It's actually used by the Navy SEALs before they go into an active situation, because they have to be very focused, and even they get rushes of adrenaline from that fight, flight, freeze response. And so the box breathing helps them to regulate focus before they go into the situation. There you go.
Yeah. So I will try. We could actually, maybe I'll try using a bit of that or box breathing. In addition to what I said there as well, I think it's instead of making it an obstacle, I always try to help them see it as an objective. Like, okay, it's not an obstacle to understand a native speaker. It's an objective, because you will find it easier to understand other people. People who speak English as a second language, third, fourth, bilingual people, you will also find a lot easier to understand. But natives, that will be the last. So save it for later, Let it be the goal, or rather, let it be your measure of how far you've come with your listening. So I shift the attention away from, don't see it as an obstacle.
Right.
See it as an objective, something to work towards.
Very nice.
In addition to that, yeah.
Fantastic. All right. I think
you're knackered, eh?
That's a good point to wrap it up. Yeah.
Man.
It's been emotional.
Yeah.
It's been emotional. Yeah. No, I'm proud of us for sticking with it, getting through.
Yeah.
Like
it has been emotional.
I'm not expecting any views. I'm certainly not expecting anyone to watch right to the end, but if you have made it to the end, thank you so much for spending this time with us. This was a live and uncensored, unedited version of the Beyond Fluency podcast. And it has been a lot of fun to go over the work that we've done so far and to, go off track a little bit, just chat as we normally do. So it's been great sharing with you.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Liam. Thank you, everyone, for watching. All 0 of you.
We had 2 at one point. We had 2. It only lasted about 30 seconds, but we had 2 viewers.
You should have just stopped and said it only lasted about 30 seconds. It would have been a great layup for what I was going to say next.
Okay. It only lasted about 30 seconds.
No, come on. It's a family show. Guys, sorry,
okay.
But it
You remember we had a conversation about you trying to be funny.
Yeah, that's one of those moments, right?
Sorry,
not
sorry,
my
man.
strong suit.
I know. I moved on too fast for you. You got to stick it in there as quickly as possible.
Nicely done. If someone watches this bit here, very, very, they're in for a surprise.
Right. I think that at some point when we do our bloopers reel, there has to be all the things that we said that can be interpreted inappropriately.
Yeah.
We go back through all the footage and we find all the things that you could turn it into an innuendo. And all the ones that we have as well. Yeah.
Yeah. But thanks, man. It was a bit nerve-wracking in the beginning. It was pretty emotional, but yeah, it was fun.
Yeah,
it was fun. So thank you for everyone who watched. The 2 people who came, thank you for showing up. Yeah,
even if it was the same person twice, we love you just as much. Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap it up. 22:22, 1 hour 52 minutes on the clock. That's a pretty epic first live show. Yeah. Thank you very much. We will see you very soon on the next episode of the Beyond Fluency podcast. Ta-ta for now. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Ciao,
bye,
ciao.
bye.
All right.